All right, the last part about color selection factors. Um, we have some tips for color selection, and I just need you to write these down. It's 2 slides, but there's a lot of information, but there's just 2 slides. Um, so, and you are going to be asked to write the tip that you found the most interesting and write a tip that you already knew out of this list. So as I'm talking about these, be thinking of those 2 things. So brighter colors are best in smaller amounts, like an accent wall or accessories. Think like a lime green, like you don't want that everywhere in your room. Duller colors, like gray or sage green, they don't need as much attention, so it allows your eye to move around and visually expand a space. Like you can look at more things because your eye is not like shocked by the colors. Bright colors draw attention. They appear brighter against neutrals. So that lime green is going to be brighter against like a white, black, gray, tan than it would be against like a purple. Warm colors, red, orange, and yellow, we know, seem to advance, like move towards you and get your attention. They make big areas seem cozier or objects seem larger and more noticeable because they're like a little more obnoxious. Cool colors, blues, greens, purples, seem to recede or move away from you, and they make small areas seem more expansive or make an object seem smaller and less notable because they're just not as obnoxious of colors and they're typically like darker. Um, Red increases the perception of time spent in a room, while blue decreases this perception. So, what that means is, say you are in a waiting room and they've painted the walls red. You're going to feel like you've waited in that waiting room longer than you actually have, than if the walls are painted blue. Blue makes you feel like you've been in a space a shorter amount of time, and red makes you feel like you've been waiting there longer. So they should never paint classrooms red. More tips. Neutrals can be light or dark as well as warm or cool in a space. So think gray. There's warm grays and there's cool grays actually. Like the gray I've used here is a warm gray, whereas I don't know if I change the background of this one, I'll make it like a cool gray. That's a cool gray versus a warm gray. It's got more brown in it and it's got more silver in that one. I tried to explain that to some friends recently and they're like, a warm gray? That's ridiculous. That's not a thing. It's totally a thing. I told them to use a warm gray because they had tan countertops and that would go together. But they did not understand and they bought a cool gray. So, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, neutrals can be warm or cool and light or dark. Using the same color on unlike objects or patterns can unify them. So, if all my accessories throughout a room, which is like the doodads, the things that are like the cutesy things, the decorative stuff, if they're all the same color, it brings the room together, even though they're not all the same things. White interiors can seem sterile and uninteresting, like hospital-ish white. Even though white interiors are very popular right now, but we are also doing things with like textures and woods to make them not seem so sterile. Sterile means like cold and like germ-free. Using wood or like brown tones can add warmth and a human element to the space, that like live feeling, that like warm, cozy cabin feel, because we associate wood with that warm and cozy thing. Lots of psychology with the colors. The lighter the hue contrast between colors used, the stronger the statement. The higher the hue contrast between colors used, the higher the statement. So black and white, total opposite. Bigger statement than if you're going to do like black and gray, because those are more similar than black and white. Colors farther apart on the color wheel have greater hue contrast, like complementary colors. They have the biggest contrast in hue because they are the most opposite, just like black and white are the most opposite, except for black and white are not technically colors. Plenty of neutral elements used with brights or high contrast hues offers the eye a place to rest, because blacks and whites, or like blue and orange, red and green, purple and yellow, that keeps your eye just like popping from one thing to the next. But if you have a lot of neutrals in there, then your eye can like chill out and not be like caught by the really bright contrasty thing. That's what's happening with your eyes and your brains. It's like getting caught on things and staring at them for longer periods of times and like wondering and getting distracted. Whereas if your room is like really cohesive and not super contrasty, your eye just like equally moves around it and comprehends the space. Okay, so basically these tips like go together to make one big how rooms work kind of room. So again, please type the tip that you found most interesting in number 6 and a tip that you already knew in number 7. Maybe there isn't one you already knew in number 7, but sounds like kind of familiar or like that already made sense.